running with endometriosis isn't talked about enough. If you're a runner navigating life with endo, whether you've just been diagnosed, whether you're still searching for answers, or you're recovering from surgery, you are not alone. This episode is for you. I was speaking with a runner just last week who'd recently had surgery, and she had so many questions about what life with endo post-surgery would look like. Questions that her running coach couldn't answer for her. And that's part of the problem. Running with endo isn't talked about enough. Yes, there is some great information out there, but not nearly enough about how to actually balance pain, recovery, and the sport that you love doing. I'm a runner with endometriosis, and I know how confusing, frustrating, and lonely it can feel. So in this episode, I'm sharing some of my experience and what I've learned, not only from my own journey, but from other athletes navigating this too. And if you have questions afterwards, I would love to hear from you. You can send me a DM on Instagram. I'm at GMacSpurr Coaching, all one word. Or you can book a consultation call using the link in the show notes. I would happily chat to you about your running, what challenges you're coming up against, and happy to share my experience, my guidance, my knowledge with you. And if you're new around here, hello, I'm Gillian, or Coach G, and I'm a running mindset coach. I support runners of all levels to get out their head, lace up, and go after goals that genuinely lifts them up. We work on belief, identity, and working with the moments when your brain tells you that you're not fast enough, you're not good enough, and you'll never achieve this. Other people are better than you. I was diagnosed with endometriosis about 4 years ago now, after a long period of just not feeling right in my body, and I had a lot of doctor's appointments trying to get answers. But what I did know in this period of uncertainty was that my running was changing. I was nowhere near as fast as I used to be. I could not run on my period. I was dealing with cramp-like pain during my runs. I had low energy. I just did not feel good, and running felt terrible. And it's a really difficult place to be in as a running coach, where I am encouraging others to lace up and run when I couldn't even do that myself. I felt imposter syndrome. I felt like I was lying to people. It was an awful space to be in, hiding this secret about my own running. Let me start by saying this. Everyone is different, and that's what makes running with endo so incredibly challenging, because there's not one single plan, not one size fits all approach, not a clear path, and no simple do this and it'll all be great answer. So with that in mind, I want to share what this has actually looked like for me, what I've experienced, what I've struggled with, what I've learned along the way, what I hear from my clients that have endo. Not as a perfect plan, not for something for you to follow perfectly, but something that you can take and shape into what works for you. So this is not me giving you the answer, I'm sorry. Some of what I share might be helpful for you to try, but the most important thing is that you keep coming back to what feels true for you. This is your permission slip to experiment, to be curious, and do what is right for you and your body. So experiment. Stay curious about how your body responds to new things. Pay attention to what you feel and what you think. Maybe even write it down in a journal so you've got the evidence there and you can go back and look at the patterns that are emerging, so that you can start to understand what works best for you, because that is what really, really matters here. So the first thing that I had to learn was that I need way more time to train compared to the general running population. Simple as that. I could no longer expect to go from where I was to being race ready in the same time frames that I used to be able to do, or that is widely seen in the running world. So for example, I couldn't go couch to 5k in 3 months. It would take me maybe 5 or 6. I couldn't go from half marathon to marathon in 6 months. It could potentially take me a year. And I'm not saying that to freak you out thinking that this will be the same for you. But I knew that I had to account for the fact that there would likely be a week every single month where running just wasn't an option for me. And that really adds up over 3, 6, 12 months of training. So I had to adjust my training cycle. I stopped forcing harder sessions into weeks where my energy was low or my body felt more sensitive. So instead of every single week of my training plan, including hills or tempo or a speed work, that would be every single week historically. Now that's dropped to maybe twice a month, maybe at a push 3 times at most. And that shift alone made a huge difference, not only how I felt physically, but also mentally. But it did require a huge mental shift that I was no longer training the timeframes I used to train, nor was I running the same run types and the frequency that I was doing before. Online, there's this narrative around training in the shortest time frame possible. I get it. I've been there. And I see it all the time. People asking if they can train for a marathon in 2 months or go from couch to 5k in 3 weeks. And for some people, that might work. Like, you do you. But with endometriosis, at least in my experience, that approach just doesn't hold up. It adds too much weight to my body. I had to learn to give myself more time than I thought I actually would need. More time to breathe, more time to listen to my body, and honestly, more time to take the pressure off because I wasn't constantly chasing a tight deadline. So, for example, I've got my set sight on a 100k race. I know. At the start of this year, 2026, I genuinely been thinking I was going to train for this year. The race is in October. So I was asking myself, could I be race ready in 9 months? And I considered this for weeks. But really deep down, I knew that if I signed up to that race this year, giving myself 9 months to train, I knew that I would spend that entire training cycle feeling stressed and rushed and worried that if I needed to take a run or a week or 2 weeks off, that I would then be worried about where my training would land. That I want to be standing at the start line of that race, proud of what I've achieved in my training, but also knowing that I'm about to do something pretty spectacular. If you don't know my story, I was really unfit, really unhealthy over a decade ago, and one New Year resolution to run a 5k completely changed my life. I not only found a hobby, a sport that I adored, but it turned into a whole career change as well. Gillian of 2014 couldn't have even dreamt of running a 5k. So to be now looking down at a training cycle for 100k, like, oh my goodness. But anyway, back to my story. I could have pushed, struggled, forced myself to be 100k ready in 9 months, but I decided to do things differently. I've set my sights on 2027 instead, giving myself the time to build up those longer distances in a way that actually respects my body, the body that I have today, instead of fighting against it. Because for me, rushing the process was never going to get me to the start line in a way that felt good. Now that I know that I've got a year and a half to be race ready, just feels so expansive. It gives me time to honor my body, run when I can, rest when I need to, and not feel that pressure that I've committed to doing a race and that I have to be race ready. So watch this space. 2027 is the year I do 100k. Now, the next thing I had to learn, and this one might sound small, but it really wasn't for me, it's that I can't wear tight leggings anymore. For running, and not really in day-to-day life either, anything tight around my abdomen just makes me feel uncomfortable, sometimes even in pain, but certainly cramps, bloating, uncomfortable, I feel nauseous. So that affects how I move, how I breathe, and honestly how I feel in my body. And as runners, we're so used to being told what we should wear, tight leggings, compression gear, all of that, but I had to let that go. I had to find what actually felt good for my body, even if it didn't look like what everyone else was wearing, even if it was sizing up and needing drawstrings to hold things up rather than relying on the compression. So now I choose looser, more comfortable options, and that alone has made running feel a bit more manageable for me. And that took a bit of unlearning because I feel like I should be wearing what everyone else is wearing, which is another lesson in itself. Stop looking at other people, focusing on yourself. Now the next thing, and this is a big one, if you take nothing else away from this podcast, take this. It's learning to really listen to your body. No matter what is written on my training plan for that day, for that week, if my body says no, it's a hard no. I have to honour that. And that has not always been the case. I'm ashamed to admit it. I would often push through discomfort and pain to get to the start line of a race. I would have done the run no matter how I felt physically. And that includes tiredness, soreness, pain. It did not matter. I would follow my plan to the T. But that doesn't work for me anymore. I can't. I've learned that I can't push through in the same way. And actually listening to my body is what allows me to keep running at all. Giving myself permission to rest, to adapt, to change my plan, that's not me falling behind. That's me managing my endo and supporting my body in the long run. Not literally in the long run, but I guess also literally in the long run. Because for me, pushing through doesn't make me stronger, it sets me back. And I want to be able to run for decades more. So I have got to listen to my body and do what's right for my body. And listening to my body doesn't always mean skipping a run entirely. It could look different depending on the day. So sometimes it might mean downgrading my tempo run to a steady or even to an easy run. It could be that I do the run walk method rather than running continuously. Or maybe it's sometimes it's just stopping the run completely, whether I'm able to finish it as a walk or I go home and I chalk it down to not being able to run because my body said no, and I reassess and recommit. The key is that I'm paying attention and letting my body guide what I do that day, not blindly following a plan. And that's why giving myself more weeks in my training plan is so important. It means I can have runs that don't go exactly as planned and I don't sweat it because I've already got time built into my training plan for those wobbles, for those runs that don't go to plan, for the runs that my body says no to. Listening to my body comes absolute number one first. everything else fits around that. And one more thing in terms of listening to your body, let's talk menstrual products. Because my naturopath, I love her, she suggested that I avoid using tampons or a menstrual cup and instead use pads or period underwear. I hate pads. I used pads for years. But hello, chafe. Whether I wore them when I was running, yes, I know, ouch, or just in day-to-day life, I regularly was very uncomfortable with them and got chafe. Way more than I should have, really. And I gave period underwear a go for a good solid, I don't know, maybe 6 months. But I ended up returning to the menstrual cup as I didn't notice a difference in my symptoms using it versus not using it. And that's the point here. It's not about the product itself. It's about listening to your body and noticing what feels best for you. Sure, somebody tells you to try A. Okay, you want to try A? Give it a shot. But it doesn't mean that you have to stay with A if A doesn't feel like the best fit for you, your body. Now, I rarely run during my period. I can count on 3 fingers the amount of runs I've done on my period in the last 2 years. And 2 of those runs were races. I actually stopped signing up for races for a few years as I navigated what running with endo looked like for me. My day 1 and day 2 are really painful for me, and I didn't want to ever risk signing up for a race that might land right on my period. But last year I was traveling and the timing worked out for races in Australia and Singapore. So I signed up and prayed to the period gods that my period wouldn't come on race day. And would you believe it? It came for both. So I ran, I raced, I listened to my body. I pulled back on the intensity significantly. I used the run walk method for both. And I did a lot of mindset work, not only pre-race, but at the race itself, to be okay with the fact that my running experience is not going to be what I'd hoped, that I was not going to be able to hunt down a personal best. I was not going to physically feel the best that I could on race day. So the mindset work was really focusing on, okay, well, what can I control? Where can I find joy? Where can I be present while still in pain? Why am I telling you this? Because not everyone with endometriosis can run on their periods. Some can, some can't. The key is understanding your own body, adjusting your expectations, and making choices that let you participate in a way that works for you, whether that's running, racing, or taking a rest day. Now, would I sign up for races in the future knowing that it could happen again? Yes, I will. There's also some other things that I would consider doing. Is 1, waiting closer to race day to see whether or not I likely be on my period for race day. That only works for races that don't sell out, and it does seem like that is the direction that we're going in with the vast majority of races these days, in that if you don't sign up months in advance, there's no spaces left come a week before. So that's something that I would consider, but also signing up for races knowing that this is not the time, or potentially not the time, that I'm going to be getting fast times. That as long as I am okay running the race, knowing that I adore the route or the charity that it supports, or that I've got friends doing, or as long as there's something in the race itself that brings me joy, then I would still consider signing up for it and hoping, praying that my period doesn't come. But then I still have a backup of things that I'm really excited about. I want to hit you up with a few bonus lessons that I've learned. The first one is things will change. You've got to be open to adapting. Your body, your cycle, your energy, everything can and will shift over time. That's okay. Flexibility is your friend. Be open to knowing that what works for you today might not work for you in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months time, but just continue to doing what works best for your body today. The other one is experimenting, not only with your fueling, which I encourage you all runners to do, let alone if you're running with endo, but experiment with how you train. So certain run types might work better at different stages of your cycle. Try things out. Notice how your body responds and adjust accordingly. Number 3, stretching and movement are meant to help. So don't just go through the motions. Really find what actually feels good for you and your body and support your recovery. And number 4, stop if your body tells you to. Whether that's slowing to a walk, modifying the run, or stopping completely, listening to your body isn't giving up. It's how you keep running in the long term. And if you find yourself really struggling with that mindset shift, then 100% reach out to me. I will give you some hints and tips, or we can talk about how I can support you with monthly coaching. But before we finish, I want to leave you with 2 more important things that I've learned. First, just because you have endo doesn't mean that you can't train for races or go after new distances. You can, but it's going to require flexibility, patience, grace, kindness, and above all, listening to your body. Letting go of the pressure to perform exactly how you used to and focus on what your body can do right now. And the second one is sometimes you need to reset your expectations. For example, if you track data on your watch, I'd consider, you're probably not going to like me for this one, but I would consider removing all of the previous data points and start afresh. So remove all your fastest times from your watch. I know it was hard, so hard for me to do. And when I was talking to the runner last week, her face kind of fell when I suggested removing all of her previous best times from her watch. See this as an opportunity to be version 2.0 of yourself, of your running experience, because training with endo isn't about chasing old benchmarks, what you used to be able to do. It's about honouring what you are able to do today, where you are today. And I know from personal experience, even though I've done oodles of mindset work on it, if I was to regularly see or regularly compare myself to what I was doing before my diagnosis, before things started feeling difficult for me, I would certainly put down the effort that I was putting in today and comparing myself to what I was able to do before. Whereas, yes, I can appreciate what I was able to do before, but if I focus on what I'm able to do today, this week, this month, this training cycle, and see that as my version 2.0, then at least I'm using accurate data to benchmark against. I'm using what I'm able to do with endo and comparing it to myself with endo, if you get where I'm going with that. You've got to honour where you're at today. Now, you can take photos of those best times if you still want to keep a hold of them, but I would encourage you to scrap the data and start afresh. And remember, running with endo is a journey. things will change. So stay open to adapting. Experiment with fueling, different run types, different stages of your cycle, and movement strategies that actually feel good for you. But above all, listen to your body. Slow down, walk, or even stop completely if it's telling you to. That's not failure, it is long-term success. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. You can also follow me on social media at GMacSpurr Coaching for more tips, stories, and support. And if you have any questions about running with endo or are looking for a running coach who really understands what you're going through, please reach out. Send me a DM or use the link below to book a consult call where we can chat about what you want to achieve and how that is possible. Because you can keep running, you can train for races, and you can do it in a way that honours your body, your cycle, and your journey. Just keep listening, keep experimenting, and keep moving. Your best version is ahead of you. Thanks for listening. Happy running. See you next week. Bye for now.